रही है बस।
हाँ हरीश, एक बार चेक कर लो, स्क्रीन पे आ रहा है सही?
एक मिनट सर, देख रहा हूँ।
हम्म।
लास्ट में सेव भी कर लीजिएगा बस, हाँ।
हाँ
लास्ट में जब कंप्लीट करेंगे
हाँ।
तो सेव कर लीजिएगा।
सेव?
उसमें सेव
अच्छा, इसमें सेव का ऑप्शन
क्लिक
है?
करेंगे ना, लास्ट में आएगा। लास्ट में तो कंप्लीट जब फिनिश करेंगे आप,
हाँ हाँ।
तब सेव कर लीजिएगा उसको,
ठीक है।
तो आपका वीडियो सेव हो जाएगा।
ओके, ठीक है।
एक मिनट देख रहा हूँ बस। हाँ, आ गया बॉस। सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम ग्रॉस टॉपोग्राफी।
यस, सो शैल आई स्टार्ट?
ओके, विश यू ऑल द बेस्ट।
ओके, एक बार ऑडियो सही आ रहा है आपको? मैं अभी तो मोबाइल से सुन रहे हैं हम लोग।
नहीं नहीं, अभी मोबाइल में मेरे पे आ नहीं रहा ना, आप चालू करोगे तो मैंने लैपटॉप में खोल रखा है।
नहीं, मैंने भी लैपटॉप चालू किया हुआ है, लेकिन तुम्हें लैपटॉप पे आवाज़ सुनाई पड़ रही है या नहीं, ये पूछ रहा
हाँ, ऑल द बेस्ट।
हूँ। ओके, थैंक यू। गुड आफ्टरनून all of you. Today I got a opportunity that I deliver a lecture for UG and PG students of Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan Ayurveda University Jodhpur. So today my topic is central nervous system gross topography. So this gross topography means how the central nervous system components are made and how we can demarcate from outside. So the main component of the central nervous system is, as we know, the brain. The brain itself has so many parts, like the main visible part of the brain is cerebral hemisphere, the most of part that we can see from the outside that is the cerebral hemisphere, and the rest of part are the cerebellum and the brain stem. So in this class we will discuss about the major feature of the cerebral hemispheres. As we can see in this photograph that there are number of sulci and gyri seen from the outside on the surface of the brain. So our motto of this class that after the end of this class we can nomenclature to the all the sulci and the gyri those are seen on the superolateral surface, on the medial surface and on the inferior surface. जितना भी सल्कस और गायरस हमें दिखाई दे रहा है हम उनको लेबल्ड कर सकें इस क्लास के एंड में। इस मोटो के साथ हम ये लेक्चर स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं। So when we put the specimen on the surface, so what we find that the brain has the three borders. One are the superomedial border of the brain and another one is the inferomedial border of the brain. The third border is the inferolateral border. So three borders are, one is superior and medial border. When we cut it from, when we see from in this section that I will show you in this section that this border is the superomedial border, superior and medial. The rest of two borders are, one is inferolateral border. You can see in this diagram that is inferolateral border, and third one is inferomedial border. So the brain has three borders and three surfaces. So what are the surfaces? One is superolateral surface. We can see in this diagram there is superolateral surface. The major surface that is visible is superolateral surface. Next surface is the medial surface, and third one is the inferior surface. So we can see that all three surfaces in this slide, that one is the dominant surface that can be seen from the outside, that is superolateral surface, and in this second diagram we can see the inferior surface, and the third diagram showing the medial surface. So medial surface, the inferior surface can be completely visible after when we remove the other parts of the brain, like when we cut it from the cerebellum and we remove the brain stem. After that, it is possible that we can visible the whole inferior surface. Without cutting, without removing these parts of the brain, it is not possible to see the complete inferior surface. So it is requirement when we study the cerebral hemisphere, then it is necessary, then we cut the brain stem and the cerebellum from the rest of brain. Now, when we study the bones, the first we decide the ends of the bone, that one end is upper end, another one is lower end. So same thing happen in the brain. When we put the specimen on the table, so we find that brain is direct contact with the three regions with the table. So one region, that is the frontal part, so that part is known as the frontal pole, or we can say the frontal end. The posterior part, that is known as the occipital pole, and the third part where the brain is lying on the table, that is the temporal pole. So brain has three poles, or we can say the three ends. Now the whole now one by one we will discuss about the parts of the brain. So now we are focusing only the one part of the brain, that is the cerebral hemisphere. So the whole cerebral hemisphere has four lobes. So these lobes, the boundaries of the lobe are decided by the sulci. So when we divide the cerebral hemisphere into four lobes, it is necessary, we require the two additional imaginary sulcus. Those are not present on the surface of the cerebral hemisphere. So we can draw the two imaginary line, that is one imaginary line that is start from the parieto-occipital sulcus. You can see in this diagram on the posterior part, you can see there is a diagram, there is a small sulcus shown, that is parieto-occipital sulcus, and in the lower part, that is pre-occipital notch. So one imaginary line that is drawn from the parieto-occipital sulcus to the pre-occipital notch. So this is the first imaginary line, and second imaginary line, that is start from the posterior part of the lateral sulcus. So by the help of these imaginary line, now the whole cerebral hemisphere can be divisible into four lobes. So on the superolateral surface, there are two dominant sulcus. You can see in this diagram, one is the central sulcus and another one is the lateral sulcus. So anterior to the central sulcus, the part of the cerebral hemisphere is the frontal lobe, that is the frontal lobe. The part behind the central sulcus up to the first imaginary line that was drawn on the superolateral surface from the parieto-occipital sulcus to the pre-occipital notch, that is the parietal lobe. The second lobe is parietal lobe, that is situated between the central sulcus and the first imaginary line. The third lobe, that is situated behind the first imaginary line, that is the occipital lobe. Now the fourth lobe, that is situated below the lateral sulcus and the second imaginary line, that is the temporal lobe. So this temporal lobe is the fourth lobe of the cerebral hemisphere. So these sulcus are very important to subdivide the cerebral hemisphere into the lobes. So one dominant sulcus is central sulcus, anterior to the central sulcus is the frontal lobe, behind the central sulcus is the parietal lobe up to the first imaginary line. Third lobe is the occipital lobe, that is situated behind the first imaginary line, and fourth lobe is temporal lobe, that is situated just below the lateral sulcus, that is the temporal lobe. Now the further subdivision of these sulcus, these lobes. Now we are focusing on the one lobe of the cerebral hemisphere, that is the frontal lobe. So you can see in this diagram that is the violet colored part of the cerebral hemisphere, that is known as the frontal lobe, that is the frontal lobe. So you can see there is a central sulcus, and anterior to the central sulcus there is a precentral sulcus. So the area between the precentral sulcus and the central sulcus, that is known as the precentral gyrus. Now we are again remember our motto of this class कि जो हमें यहाँ दिख रहा है सरफेस के ऊपर इतने सल्कस और गायरस दिख रहे हैं, आफ्टर द एंड ऑफ दिस क्लास we can label each and every sulcus and each and every gyrus. This is our motto. If a specimen in our hand, now we can easily locate or nominate that this is a particular sulcus and this is a gyrus, particular gyrus. The name of gyrus we can easily told. This is our motto of this class. So now we are focusing on the frontal lobe. So, and there is a sulcus that is the demarcation line, that is central sulcus. Anterior to the central sulcus is the frontal lobe. The whole frontal lobe can be divisible into the further sulcus and gyri. So anterior to the central sulcus there is another sulcus, that is precentral sulcus. The area between the precentral sulcus and the central sulcus, that is precentral gyrus. Now anterior to the precentral sulcus there are two horizontally running sulcus present on the frontal lobe, particularly on its superolateral surface. One is the superior frontal sulcus. You can see in this diagram, that is superior frontal sulcus, that is running from anterior to posterior. Now the second sulcus is the inferior frontal sulcus. Again it is running parallel to the superior frontal sulcus, and these two sulcus, they can divide the whole frontal lobe into three further gyri. So above the superior frontal sulcus there is a gyrus that is known as superior frontal gyrus. Now that is above the superior frontal sulcus there is a gyrus that is known as superior frontal gyrus. So the limit of the superior frontal gyrus is, it is start above the superior frontal sulcus up to the superomedial border, and behind it is bounded by the precentral sulcus. Now the second gyrus is the middle frontal gyrus. The second gyrus is the middle frontal gyrus, that is situated between the superofrontal sulcus and the inferofrontal sulcus, that is middle frontal gyrus. So it is middle frontal gyrus, it is bounded by the two sulci. One is superior frontal sulcus and another one is the inferior frontal sulcus. Posteriorly it is bounded by the precentral sulcus. Now the third gyrus, that is the inferior frontal gyrus. So inferior frontal gyrus, it is bounded superiorly by the inferior frontal sulcus, posteriorly by the precentral sulcus, inferiorly by the lateral sulcus. So the inferior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus and superior frontal gyrus, these three gyrus are the part of the frontal lobe. Now the inferior frontal gyrus is further subdivided. How it is further subdivided? You can see in this diagram that there is a lateral sulcus. Lateral sulcus divide the cerebral hemisphere into the upper part and into the lower part. So you can see in this diagram that there is a small ramus going into the inferior frontal gyrus, that is known as the anterior ramus of lateral sulcus. Now the second small ramus is the ascending ramus. The ascending ramus it is going into the inferior frontal gyrus again, because it is a small part of the lateral sulcus. So you can see there are two small ramus. They are arises from the lateral sulcus. One is the anterior ramus, another one is the ascending ramus, and third one is the largest, that is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So these three ramus, they further subdivide the inferior frontal gyrus into the three small regions. One part that is situated just above our orbits, that is pars orbitalis. So pars orbitalis is the part of the inferior frontal gyrus that is situated just below the anterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Firstly, it is necessary that we clearly identify the three ramus of the lateral sulcus. One is anterior ramus, another one is ascending ramus, third one is the posterior ramus. So the part of the frontal lobe or the part of the inferior frontal gyrus that is situated below the anterior ramus, that is known as the pars orbitalis. These small parts are very clinically useful when we will discuss about the functional areas of brain. The functional areas of cerebral hemisphere, when we discussed, then these small areas are very clinically significant. Now the second subdivision of the inferior frontal gyrus is pars triangularis. The pars triangularis is the area that is situated between the anterior and ascending ramus. Now the third part, that is pars opercularis. Pars opercularis is the part that is situated behind the ascending ramus and just above the posterior ramus. Now we can see in this is the specimen. Now you can see here there is a lateral sulcus, there is a central sulcus. So how we can identify the central sulcus? Because the important feature of the central sulcus, you can see in this diagram that the central sulcus, it is the dominant sulcus on the superolateral sulcus, it is the largest, but in the lower part it is not continue with the lateral sulcus. So this is the identification feature of the central sulcus. Now you can see in this diagram that there is a central sulcus, below there is a lateral sulcus, anterior to the central sulcus, that is precentral sulcus, between the precentral and central sulcus, precentral gyrus, there is a superior sulcus, that is superior frontal sulcus, and the inferior frontal sulcus. Now the superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus, inferior frontal gyrus, and three subdivisions of the small inferior frontal gyrus. One is pars orbitalis, pars triangularis, and pars opercularis. So this is about the frontal lobe. Now the sulcus and gyrus, major sulcus or gyrus of the frontal lobe we have discussed. Now the second lobe, that is situated behind the central sulcus up to the first imaginary line. That imaginary line is start from the parieto-occipital sulcus to the pre-occipital notch. That is the parietal lobe. So the parietal lobe, again it is further subdivided into the small subdivisions, like behind the central sulcus you can see there is another sulcus, that is the post-central sulcus. That post-central sulcus, the area between the post-central sulcus and the central sulcus is known as the post-central gyrus. That is post-central gyrus. So many sensory functions. The sensory homunculus is situated into the post-central gyrus. The motor homunculus is situated into the precentral gyrus. So when we discuss the functional areas of brain, then these subdivisions of the cerebral hemisphere are very significant, very important. Now you can see there is a ill-defined sulcus that is running transversely from anterior to posterior, that is intraparietal sulcus. Intra means because it is situated into a lobe, that's why it is termed as intraparietal, and it is not much more clearly seen as we can see into the central sulcus or into the superior or middle frontal sulcus. So it is little bit ill defined. Because of the ill defined sulcus, this intraparietal sulcus, the parietal lobe can be divisible into the small lobules, because it is a part of this lobe, that's why we are using term lobules. So one part that is situated just above the inferior parietal lobule, intraparietal sulcus, that is the superior parietal lobule. The part that is lying below the intraparietal sulcus, that is inferior parietal lobule. So again the inferior parietal lobule is important for us, because there are some interesting functional areas are situated here. So inferior parietal lobule, again it is subdivided into three small areas. So you can see in this diagram is very important and very easy to understand the anatomy of the brain. Otherwise, because you can see in this specimen that it is hardened to understand when we go direct on this specimen. अगर हमारे पास ये सीधा specimen ही हाथ में है तो it is difficult to identify the sulcus and gyrus. So first I am demonstrating these things on a handmade diagram. So we can see there is a lateral sulcus into the lower part, the lateral sulcus that is separating the frontal and parietal lobe from the temporal lobe. So you can see we have already seen the anterior ramus and ascending ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now the largest ramus of the lateral sulcus is the posterior ramus. You can see the posterior ramus. So in the posterior part, this posterior ramus goes backward and finally it is interned into the inferior parietal lobule. So the posterior ramus goes backward. Posterior ramus is the part of the lateral sulcus. It goes backward, interned into the inferior parietal lobule. The part of the inferior parietal lobule that is anterior to the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus and the posterior lateral sulcus, that part is known as supramarginal gyrus. So supramarginal gyrus, it is a part of the inferior parietal lobule. So supramarginal gyrus, it is bounded, the boundaries of supramarginal gyrus are: anteriorly it is bounded by the posterior sulcus, superiorly it is bounded by the intraparietal sulcus, inferiorly it is bounded by the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. I hope you can understand by this diagram very easily. Now the second subdivision of the inferior parietal lobule is the angular gyrus, because the angular gyrus is made by the interned entry of the superior temporal sulcus. You can focus in the temporal lobe. There is a small sulcus, a dominant sulcus of the temporal lobe, that is the superior temporal sulcus. You can see the superior temporal sulcus. The superior temporal sulcus, it is interned into the inferior parietal lobule. So the area between the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus and the superior temporal sulcus, that particular area of inferior parietal lobule is known as the angular gyrus. Now the third subdivision of the inferior parietal lobule is arcus temporo-occipitalis gyrus. Occipitalis gyrus. So The second sulcus of the temporal lobe, that is the inferior temporal sulcus, that is interned into the inferior parietal lobe. So there is another subdivision of the inferior parietal lobe is present between the superior temporal sulcus and the inferior temporal sulcus. That part of the inferior parietal lobule is known as arcus temporo-occipital gyrus. Arcus temporo-occipitalis gyrus. So these are the subdivisions of inferior parietal lobule. So I hope that you can understand now very easily the second part of the lobe, that is parietal lobe. So we are discussing now the superior-lateral surface only. हम superior-lateral surface में जो हमें दिखाई पड़ रहा है उसी के बारे में डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं. Now the third lobe on the superior-lateral view, that is the occipital lobe. The occipital lobe, that is situated, the bounded by the one imaginary line, that is the first imaginary line, that is that is start from the parieto-occipital sulcus and reaches into the lower part, that is pre-occipital notch. So the area of the cerebral hemisphere, that is bounded superiorly by the parieto-occipital sulcus, inferiorly by the first imaginary line and the inferior temporal sulcus. This area is known as the occipital lobe. So occipital lobe, basically the function of occipital lobe is for the vision purpose. आपको देखने का जो सेंटर्स हैं, they are situated into the occipital lobe. So the occipital lobe has some small sulcus. You can see in this diagram there is a lunate sulcus, small lunate sulcus. Anterior to the lunate sulcus, that is gyrus descendens. Anterior to the lunate sulcus is gyrus descendens. Now you can see a small transverse occipitalis sulcus in this diagram. Again it is ill defined, not very much clear. So transverse occipitalis sulcus again divide this occipital lobe into the two small lobules. One is superior occipital gyrus and another one is large inferior occipital gyrus. In the inferior occipital gyrus there is another sulcus, that is lateral occipital sulcus. There is lateral occipital sulcus. So by the help of these small sulci, the occipital lobe can be divisible into the two major gyrus. One is superior occipital gyrus and inferior occipital gyrus, and another small gyrus, that is gyrus descendens. Now the fourth lobe, that is bounded by the lateral sulcus inferiorly. The upper boundary of the temporal lobe is lateral sulcus and inferiorly by the inferolateral border and the inferomedial border. So temporal lobe, it is bounded superiorly by the lateral sulcus and inferiorly by the lateral inferolateral border and inferomedial border. Now this part of the brain has the two sulci, those are running from anterior to posterior. One is superior temporal sulcus, another one is inferior temporal sulcus. So superior temporal sulcus and inferior temporal sulcus, they both divide the temporal lobe into the three major gyri. One is superior temporal gyrus, that is situated between the posterior ramus of lateral sulcus and the superior temporal sulcus. Now the second, that is the middle temporal gyrus. That middle temporal gyrus, it is situated between the superior temporal sulcus and inferior temporal sulcus. Now the third gyrus, that is inferior temporal gyrus, that is situated below the inferior temporal sulcus, that is inferior temporal gyrus. So now the whole superolateral surface can be nomenclature by us. If you can see the diagram, now this diagram you can easily see and you can easily identify what I have delivered in this lecture, the whole superolateral. Now if I hidden these labelings, I hope the students, those are joining this class, they can easily nomenclature these gyrus and sulci on this model or any model of the brain like this. It is unlabeled part of the brain. You can now easily labeled by the help of that diagram. You can easily label. So this is the first surface we have discussed, that is superolateral surface. I hope you can understand easily. Now we are moving to the next part of the brain, that is the insula. Insula means the hidden, the brain inside the brain. ब्रेन के अंदर भी एक दूसरा ब्रेन है, that is insula or hidden brain. So we have, if we have reflected the lateral sulcus, यदि हम lateral sulcus को थोड़ा सा एक्सपोज करें, if we go in this diagram, yes, now here is the lateral sulcus. So if we expose the lateral sulcus, then what we seen inside, the same cerebral hemisphere can be seen inside, that is known as, that is shown in this green color, that is the insula, that is the hidden brain. ब्रेन के अंदर एक छोटा ब्रेन, that is insula. So this insula itself, it has the sulcus and gyri. So it is covered, this insula is covered by the lids. ढक्कन के द्वारा, जैसे किसी ढक्कन से ढक दिया हो, इस तरह से ये कवर्ड रहता है. So those lids are known as the operculars. Those lids are known as the operculars. So one lid, that is the frontal operculum. So frontal operculum, it lies between anterior and ascending rami of the lateral sulcus. We have already discussed the anterior ramus, the ascending ramus and the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So the frontal operculum, it is a first lid. When we expose it, then we can reach to the insula. So frontal opercula, it lies between the anterior and ascending rami of the lateral sulcus. Now second operculum is frontoparietal operculum, that is frontoparietal operculum. It lies above the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So we have already discussed the lateral sulcus and its posterior ramus. So this is the second lid, and third lid is temporal operculum. It lies just below the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So when we explore these lids, then we can see inside the brain, and we find there is a small brain-like structure, that is insula, or we can say the hidden brain. So itself it has some sulcus and gyrus. You can see in this diagram that short gyrus there are ill-defined and a central sulcus is present on this insula. So we will discuss insula in the later on classes, but now this is the part that is situated behind the lateral sulcus. That's why I discussed this insula here. Now the second surface, that is known as the medial surface. So if you want to study the medial surface, so it is necessary that we cut the specimen of a complete cerebral hemisphere through the corpus callosum, because you know that you can see in this specimen. This is the complete brain, and if we don't cut it from corpus callosum, we can't see this medial surface. So it is necessary to cut it from the corpus callosum and separate the two lobes of cerebral hemisphere. Then we can reach easily to the medial surface. So now our motto of this part of the class is to identify the each and every sulcus and gyrus of the medial surface, and the structures those are seen on the medial surface we can label easily. Now the corpus callosum, as you know, the corpus callosum, it is a band like structure that are the nature of fibers those are made the corpus callosum are the commissural fibers. They exchange the information from one hemisphere to the another hemisphere. Okay, so this corpus callosum, it has 4 parts. This corpus callosum, you can see in this diagram, that one diagram that is a model and another is a real diagram, dissected diagram. So this corpus callosum has 4 parts. One part is known as the splenium, the posterior part of the corpus callosum, that is known as the splenium. The second part, that is major part, that is known as the trunk part. You can see this in the below diagram, that is the trunk part. Third part is the genu, that is the interned part of the corpus callosum, and last part is the rostrum, that is below the, that is situated below the genu, that is the rostrum part. So corpus callosum, it is a band like structure that connects the two cerebral hemispheres, and these cerebral hemispheres, they communicate their information through corpus callosum, and the nature of fibers, those are the commissural fibers. The corpus callosum itself has 4 parts. One part that is situated posteriorly just above the cerebellum, that is known as the splenium part. Next, the major part, that is the trunk, or we can say the body, and third part, that is known as the splenium, genu part. The genu part, it is the turned part, जहाँ से corpus callosum frontal lobe के अंदर मुड़ता है, that is the genu. Genu means band, जहाँ जुड़ने वाली situation हो. So this genu connect the trunk to the rostrum. So rostrum is another interned part of the corpus callosum. You can see in this diagram that after the genu, there is a band like structure that is reaching up to the anterior commissure. Anterior commissure, it is a small nervous tissue band like structure. Same thing happen into the anterior commissure. There it is a similar structure. The corpus callosum connect the two cerebral hemisphere from anterior to posteriorly. The anterior commissure, it connects the two frontal lobes. जो frontal lobe है इनको connect करती है. So this is about the corpus callosum. So another structures we can see in this view, that is there is a small structure that is start below the splenium, that is the fornix. You can see there is a nervous tissue, the band of nervous tissue that is start from the just below the splenium and going anteriorly, आगे की तरफ जा रही है. अब it is reaching up to the anterior commissure, that is the fornix. Fornix, it is a band like structure that holds the septum pellucidum. So you can see in this diagram, you can see the previous diagram, there is a major difference between these two diagrams. One is the one diagram has septum pellucidum, another did not have. So septum pellucidum, it is a small thin sheet that is stretched between the fornix and corpus callosum, and it covers the lateral ventricle. It covers the lateral ventricle. When we remove the septum pellucidum, we can see inside and we can see the cavity of the lateral ventricle. So septum pellucidum covers the lateral ventricle and it provide a shelter to CSF. Otherwise, what happens if the septum pellucidum is not present? That CSF is directly come into the medial side. So it protects to uncontrolled flow of the CSF. You can see there is a small opening just below the fornix. You can see there is a small fornix just below the fornix. That is the intraventricular foramen. So the septum pellucidum covers the lateral ventricle. Now the CSF, it is traveled from the interventricular foramen and it is goes downwards through the cerebral. It is reaches into the third ventricle, and through the third ventricle it is reaches from the through a small canal and it is reaches into the fourth ventricle. So this is the route of CSF. You can see in this diagram the fourth ventricle, the third ventricle and the lateral ventricle. So this is the route of CSF. Now the another structure we can see from the medial aspect. There is the thalamus, the thalamic connexus. By the help of this thalamic connexus, the two thalamus they can join to each other. दोनों एक दूसरे से जुड़े रहते हैं by the help of this thalamic connexus. So you can see below the thalamus, that is hypothalamus. In this view you can see the hypothalamus. So the CSF, it is traveled from the interventricular foramen to the third ventricle and through the cerebral aqueduct it reaches to the fourth ventricle, and from the fourth ventricle it is reaches to the central canal of the spinal cord. So this is the route of the CSF. So these structures, those I have discussed, the thalamus, hypothalamus, cerebral aqueduct, thalamic connexus, fornix, septum pellucidum, corpus callosum, these structures can be visible when we cut the cerebral hemisphere from the corpus callosum. After that we can see these structures. Now the major sulcus and gyrus, those we can see from the medial aspect. So you can see in this diagram, above the corpus callosum there is a sulcus, that is known as the callosal sulcus. That is known as the callosal sulcus. You can see here, there is a callosal sulcus is present, there is a small sulcus is present just above the corpus callosum, that is known as the callosal sulcus. That is known as the callosal sulcus. Above the callosal sulcus there is another sulcus, that is known as the cingulate sulcus. That is known as the cingulate sulcus. So these are the two important sulcus, those can be seen from the medial view. One is callosal sulcus, another one is cingulate sulcus. So between the callosal sulcus and the cingulate sulcus there is a gyrus, that is known as cingulate gyrus. That is known as the cingulate gyrus. I can show you in this diagram. You can see in this diagram, here is the corpus callosum, that is shown by yellow color. Above the corpus callosum there is callosal sulcus. Above the callosal sulcus there is a black color line drawn, that is the cingulate sulcus, sulcus cinguli. Sulcus cinguli. So the area between the callosal sulcus and cingulate sulcus, that is cingulate gyrus, gyrus cinguli. So you can see the cingulate sulcus, the callosal sulcus and cingulate gyrus into the medial view. Now above the area between the cingulate sulcus and this border is superomedial border. This border is superomedial border. So this area has another dominant gyrus that is known as the medial frontal gyrus. We have already discussed a similar name into the frontal lobe, that was middle frontal gyrus. Here it is medial frontal gyrus. So middle frontal gyrus was situated into the superolateral surface on the frontal lobe, but medial frontal gyrus, it is situated on the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere between the sulcus cinguli and superomedial border. So this is the major part is occupied by the medial frontal gyrus. Behind the medial frontal gyrus there is a small strip of central sulcus. You can see in this diagram that central sulcus is dominantly present on the superolateral surface, but it's a little interned part that is reaches on the medial surface. So this central sulcus demarcate the boundaries of the medial frontal gyrus. So behind this central sulcus, the part of this gyrus is known as the paracentral lobule. That is paracentral lobule. Behind the central sulcus is paracentral lobule. Anterior to the central sulcus, that is medial frontal gyrus. Now, behind the central sulcus and up to the parieto-occipital sulcus, we have already discussed this parieto-occipital sulcus on the superolateral view. Superolateral व्यू के अंदर हमने डिस्कस किया था एक इमेजिनरी लाइन बनाने के लिए. नाउ द parieto-occipital sulcus, it is dominantly seen into the medial view on the medial surface. So the area between the behind the paracentral lobe and between the parieto-occipital sulcus, this area is known as the precuneus part. The area behind the paracentral lobule and the parieto-occipital sulcus, this area is known as the precuneus part of the medial surface. Now the next part is between the parieto-occipital sulcus and the calcarine sulcus, that is the cuneus part. That particular area is situated between the two important sulcus. One is parieto-occipital sulcus and another one is calcarine sulcus. This part of the medial surface is known as the cuneus part. There is a small ill-defined sulcus that is present above the corpus callosum, that is known as the suprasplenial sulcus, because it is present just above the splenial part of the corpus callosum. So the ill-defined sulcus is present into the precuneus region, that is the suprasplenial sulcus. Now the suprasplenial is the area between the splenial part and the joining of calcarine and parieto-occipital sulcus. This small part is known as the isthmus, that is the junction part, isthmus. So isthmus, it is bounded anteriorly by the splenial part of the corpus callosum, posteriorly by joint sulcus of parieto-occipital and calcarine sulcus. This is the isthmus part. This is the isthmus part. So these are the major sulcus and gyrus of the medial surface. So can I revise? One is callosal sulcus, then cingulate sulcus, callosal gyrus, cingulate gyrus, medial frontal gyrus, then paracentral lobule, precuneus part, then parieto-occipital sulcus, calcarine sulcus, precuneus part, cuneus part, isthmus and suprasplenial sulcus. These are the major structures, major sulcus and gyrus of the medial surface. So you can easily see in this model that the part anterior to the red label part, that is the medial frontal gyrus. The red part is known as the paracentral lobule. Behind the paracentral lobule is precuneus, then the paracentral parieto-occipital sulcus, then calcarine sulcus. Between these two the cuneus part. Below the calcarine sulcus, there is a tongue-shaped gyrus that is known as the lingual gyrus. The shape of the gyrus is like a tongue, that's why it is known as the lingual gyrus. Now we can move to the next part that is known as the inferior surface. So I hope now you can easily label the medial surface and the superolateral surface, sulcus and gyrus, by the help of these two pictures. Those have already shown by me. You can easily label. So if you revise after this class, that you can feel that it is very easy to label all the sulcus of gyrus of the brain. Now the next part is the inferior surface. So if you want to study the inferior surface of cerebral hemisphere, so it is very necessary that first thing you cut it the rest of part of the brain from the cerebral hemisphere, because the brain stem and cerebellum occupied the most of the inferior surface. Can I show you? देखिए, now this the upper right diagram you can see here, it is a complete specimen of the brain. There is cerebellum, now the brain stem, they occupied the most of tentorial surface of the inferior part. So if you want to be study, so first thing it is necessary that we cut it from the midbrain part. The cruras of midbrain we can separate. After the separate the cruras of midbrain, we can find this view. You can find this view because the cerebral hemispheres are connected with the rest of part of the brain by the cruras of midbrain. So we cut it from the cruras of midbrain. Now the brain stem along with the cerebellum, it is separated. ये अलग हो जाता है. So now the whole view is present in front of us. So what we can see? There is a interpeduncular fossa. Interpeduncular fossa, it is made by anteriorly by the optic chiasma and posteriorly it is bounded by the midbrain. It is posteriorly bounded by the midbrain. You can see in this diagram there are the optic chiasma, the optic nerves, they are crossing to each other, and the posterior part of this optic chiasma, they are seen in the form of two swelling. These are known as the medial and lateral geniculated bodies. These are known as the medial and lateral geniculated bodies. So we can see lateral to the midbrain there are two swelling like structures lateral to the midbrain. These are the medial geniculated body and lateral geniculated bodies. These are the relay station. The medial geniculated bodies are the relay station for your auditory function, and the lateral geniculated body is related to for the vision function. They are the relay centers for audio visual. जो ऑडियो विजुअल फंक्शन है, they are governed by the medial and lateral geniculated bodies. Now the another structures that can be seen from the inferior view, there are the anterior to the midbrain, there are some perforated sieve like structures. जैसे छलनी होती है ऐसा छना हुआ सा एक पार्ट जो कि स्मॉल वेसल्स के द्वारा पियर्स्ड होता है, दैट इज नोन एज द पोस्टीरियर परफोरेटेड सबस्टेंस. सो वी आर यूजिंग द टर्म पोस्टीरियर. It is a comparative term. It means anterior perforated substance are also present. So you can see lateral to the optic chiasma, you can see there are two perforated structures can be seen. These are the anterior perforated substance. So posterior perforated substance, actually these are the small arteries. They are the branch of posterior cerebral artery. These are the branch of posterior cerebral arteries, and they supply to the thalamus part. They supply to the thalamus region. So these arteries, they are pierced in front of the midbrain, and the appearance looks like a sieve. So this area of brain is known as the posterior perforated substance. Now anterior to the posterior perforated substance, there are two swelling like structures. They are seems like a small breast. So the earlier anatomists, they termed their name as mammillary bodies. They term as mammillary bodies because their appearance looks like the mammary gland. So these two small mammary bodies, I can show you in this diagram. You can see that the green color structures anterior to the posterior perforated substance, these are the mammillary bodies. These two mammillary bodies, they have itself the nucleus. They can be further divisible into the medial and lateral part, or medial or lateral nucleuses. They can be further divisible into the medial and lateral nucleuses. Okay, so these are the two small green color like structure. They are shown by the green color. These are the mammillary bodies. The function of mammillary bodies are to memorize the things, or recent studies are showing that these are involved in other functions like maintaining a sense of direction. So if in the old age, what happened, the atrophy occur into the mammillary bodies, and that is known as Korsakoff syndrome. That is known as Korsakoff syndrome. And in this situation, particularly in this situation, patients lost their memory partially or completely. So dementia like situation is appear due to the partially or completely loss of memory, because of the, it is sometimes it is found it is linked with थायमिन डेफिशिएंसी. थायमिन की कमी की वजह से भी ये एट्रोफी होती है. So next to the mammillary bodies, you can see there is a cap-like structure that is known as tuber cinereum, and the stalk of pituitary gland. You can see the stalk of pituitary gland. So these small structure behind the midbrain, this white color structure is known as the midbrain. Behind the midbrain, there is a structure. You can see that small structure is the splenium part of the corpus callosum. This is the splenium part of the corpus callosum. And lateral, there are medial and lateral geniculated bodies, and in front there are the small perforated substance, posterior perforated substance. Then green color structure are mammillary body, then tuber cinereum, and lateral to the arm, the optic chiasma, there is anterior perforated substance. So anterior perforated substance, these structures are again pierced by the small branches of anterior and middle cerebral arteries. So anterior and middle cerebral arteries, they supplied through this region to the internal capsule and related structures. Now the major sulcus and gyrus of the inferior aspect. Inferior view से अगर हम देखें तो मेजर सल्कस और गायरस कौन से होंगे, वो हम हमारा मोटो जब क्लास स्टार्ट हुई थी, that after the end of this class we can label each and every sulcus and gyrus of the cerebral hemisphere. Now the whole inferior surface can be divisible into two parts. One is the orbital sulcus, orbital surface, and another one is the tentorial surface. So tentorial surface can be studied when we cut the midbrain from the cruras. या क्रूरा से हम कट कर देंगे तब हम उसको स्टडी कर पाएंगे, और इंटेक्ट के अंदर सिर्फ हम ऑर्बिटल सरफेस को ही स्टडी कर सकते हैं. सो यू कैन सी हेयर देयर इज ए कलरफुल labeling that is shown by the yellow color. So lateral to the yellow color there is a white color marking. These are the olfactory tract. These are the olfactory tract. So when we remove the olfactory tract, you can see here anterior to the olfactory tract there is a sulcus. So these olfactory tracts are inside this sulcus. They are occupied the sulcus. So that sulcus is known as the olfactory sulcus. That sulcus is known as the olfactory sulcus. And medial to the olfactory sulcus, the yellow marked area is known as the gyrus rectus. This area is known as the gyrus rectus. Understand? Now the next sulcus is lateral to the olfactory sulcus. There is a H-shaped sulcus that is known as the orbital sulcus. Lateral to the olfactory sulcus is the orbital sulcus. So this orbital sulcus it is has H-shaped arm. जैसे H होता है उसी तरह से ये आर्म होती हैं इसकी. You can see in this region that in the right side part we have the olfactory tract, and into the left side there is olfactory sulcus. Medial to the olfactory sulcus is gyrus rectus. Lateral to the olfactory sulcus there is H-shaped orbital sulcus. H-shaped orbital sulcus. Now this H-shaped orbital sulcus can be divisible into the 4 gyrus. One is the anterior orbital gyrus, another one is posterior orbital gyrus, next one is medial orbital gyrus and lateral orbital gyrus. So the H-shaped orbital sulcus that divide the orbital surface into 4 gyrus. One is anterior orbital gyrus, another one is posterior orbital gyrus, then medial orbital gyrus, and third one is the lateral orbital gyrus. Now we can move on the tentorial surface. You can see in this diagram the H sulcus and the olfactory sulcus. When I am taking the class of UG or PG, I use the maximum diagrams, because my teacher always told me that if you are studying the anatomy, it is necessary to see the diagram, more and more diagrams, because they give a clear-cut picture. When we see the diagram and we make a imagine in our brain, then we can explain by the diagram very easily. So it is a message for all students of the anatomy. Then if you are studying a particular topic, see the diagrams from the net, from the books. When you see more and more diagram, you can easily explain the things. You can easily understand the matter. Those are written in words. You can easily understand. Now, the tentorial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. You can see the tentorial surface. The tentorial surface itself, it has the 2 dominant sulci. One sulcus that is situated on the medial side, that is collateral sulcus. And another sulcus that is situated laterally, that is occipitotemporal sulcus. And a small sulcus that is situated anteriorly, that is rhinal sulcus. And a small part of the calcarean sulcus also reaches onto the inferior surface. So these are the 4 sulcus. 2 major, one is collateral, another one is occipitotemporal sulcus, and 2 small sulcus, one is rhinal sulcus, and the calcarean sulcus we have already discussed into the medial surface. Now the sulcus and gyrus of the inferior surface, the area just medial to the collateral sulcus and lateral to the midbrain, that is the parahippocampal gyrus. That is the parahippocampal gyrus. Behind the, below and inside the parahippocampal gyrus, that is not shown in this diagram, that is dentate gyrus. Dentate, it means their edges are looks like teeth, दांत के जैसे दिखाई देते हैं, इसलिए उसको कहते हैं dentate gyrus. So parahippocampal gyrus, it is situated medial to the collateral sulcus. Dentate gyrus, it is inside the parahippocampal gyrus. The interned part of the collateral sulcus is known as the uncus part. That is the uncus part. That is just in front of uncus part, the optic chiasm may start, and the another part anterior to the uncus is anterior perforated substance. Now the second part is the area between the collateral sulcus and occipitotemporal sulcus is known as the medial occipitotemporal gyrus. That is known as the medial occipitotemporal gyrus. This area is known as medial occipitotemporal gyrus. Now the third gyrus is between the occipitotemporal sulcus and inferolateral border. Inferolateral border, that is known as the lateral occipitotemporal gyrus. That is known as lateral occipitotemporal gyrus. So you can see here the major sulcus and gyrus of the inferior surface. So whole inferior surface can be divisible into the orbital and tentorial part. The orbital part is have the olfactory sulcus and the orbital sulcus, and the gyrus are the gyrus rectus and the four orbital gyrus, the anterior, posterior, medial and lateral gyrus. The tentorial part itself has four sulcus. One is collateral, another one is occipitotemporal sulcus, and next one is rhinal sulcus, and next one is calcarine sulcus. So rhinal and calcarine sulcus are basically, calcarine sulcus is the major sulcus of the medial surface, and rhinal sulcus is ill defined. Again, it is not very much clearly visible, but the rest, by the help of these sulcus, the whole tentorial surface can be divisible into three major gyrus. One is the gyrus is parahippocampal gyrus, that is medial to the collateral sulcus. Next one is between the collateral and occipitotemporal sulcus, that is medial occipitotemporal gyrus. And third one is between the inferolateral border and occipitotemporal sulcus, that is lateral occipitotemporal gyrus. So by the help of these sulcus and gyrus, the whole surface can be divisible into three major gyrus, and the whole surface can be studied very easily by the help of these diagrams. The sulcus and gyrus, I think now you can easily label these sulcus and gyrus. If I covered the labeling of this diagram, I expect that you can easily label the sulcus of gyrus of the orbital and tentorial surface. It is my expectation. So hopefully this lecture is useful to all of UG and PG students, and I am very much thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, my teacher, Professor Abhimanyu sir, the whole department of Sharir Rachna of University, especially Head of Department Mahendra sir, my senior Dr. Rakesh Jammu sir, again my senior the Shivaram sir. They all are, I am very much thankful to the department and the university, and I am also appreciate Dr. Harish. He communicate all the things related to the live demonstration. I am also thankful to Dr. Harish Singhal. Thank you so much. Have a nice time.